In this video, I wanted to show you the metrics that you should be tracking and how we track them for client campaigns, and what to look out for basically, and what's important, what's not important, and yeah, just to kind of have a look at everything. So this here is a few campaigns that we've been running for a particular client that we have since the 10th of August up until, well, basically the end of September. So it's obviously 2 weeks left in September, a week and a half from when this is being filmed. So what we've got here is the emails sent. So this is total email volume. So this is initial emails plus follow-ups as well. We've got new leads contacted. So this is new prospects that have been contacted and added to the lead list. This is the number of responses. And this is the response rate. So the reason why we're tracking the responses and response rate, rather and responses can be negative or positive. So it could be unsubs and things like that. But the reason we track this is because we don't track open rates, right? And I never recommend tracking open rates just because it causes issues with deliverability, because there's a little pixel in there that basically fires, and it's just not a it's just not a super accurate metric anyways. But the reason why we track response rates is basically gives us an idea of the overall health of the campaign. So if we are around a sort of 2% response rate, then anything above 2% is fine. Below 2% or below 1.5%, then there's probably a bit of an issue with either offer or deliverability. So that's how we really sort of like gauge things at the moment. But obviously we're looking and we're always aiming for around maybe like 2.5 to 3%. So this is just slightly below, but deliverability should be or is fine with this at the moment. Another way that you can actually tell if deliverability is not that good is you won't get that many out of offices. If you're getting out of offices, that is a good sign, in a sense that you're actually still landing in someone's inbox, because you're obviously triggering that response, that auto reply. But yeah, benchmark for this, I would say around 2.5, maybe 3%. If you're below 1.5%, then I would have a look, and there's probably something wrong with deliverability or the offer. Most times it's the offer. If you've got a good offer, it'll get in, unless you've got god awful deliverability infrastructure. Like, just the offer is the most important thing, as long as it's the right thing to the right people. Next, we've got positive responses. This is anything that is a positive sentiment in the response. So I'm interested, can I have some more information? Can I, let's set up a time to chat? Anything along those lines that is marked as a positive response. And then we've got positive response rate. So this is basically the percentage of what the percentage is of positive responses in comparison to responses, right? So if we are sending this many and getting this many responses, how many of those are positive? And at the moment for this particular series of campaigns, this is around 30%. So it's about 1 in 3 essentially are positive responses from the responses that we're getting. If this is like 5% or 10% or like super low after a significant amount of data, which might be like thousands of emails sent, then probably means that people are not resonating with your offer. All right. So again, you're getting these metrics and you're seeing, okay, cool. So we've got, 2, 3, 4% responses, but none of them are positive whatsoever. Probably an issue with the offer itself, right? So you're not having to look at like, oh, is it deliverability? It's obviously not deliverability, because you're landing in the person's inbox. You're getting a reply rate. You're getting people to respond, and multiple people to respond, but they're not responding positively, which means they don't care about your offer. So that's like a good distinction between the responses and then the actual like positive responses as well. Then you've got email sent to positive response ratio. So this is basically how many emails we need to send before we get a positive response. This is really important and just a good gauge and metric. What we aim for is anything below 350 or 400. If it's above that, then really there's a big issue probably with copy or something like the offer and things like that. That's like a benchmark that works across multiple industries that I've seen for both ourselves, and people talk about it all the time online as well. So that's kind of the gauge and benchmark, like I said. But for us here in this case, for this particular these series of campaigns, we're getting about 164. So for every 164 emails we're sending, we're getting 1 positive response. Leads contacted to positive response, exactly the same thing, but instead with just the number of new leads that are contacted instead. Then we have got, what's next? Meetings booked. So obviously we're tracking the number of meetings that have been booked. This is pretty normal. First week, nothing. And then it kind of ramped up quite a bit to 11, and then sort of like steadied out. So over the course of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, booked 24 meetings here, 95% show rate. So we had 23 out of 24 people show up to those meetings. booking rate from positive response. So basically, this gives you a good indication of how many positive responses you're getting, but then how many people you're actually booking in off of those positive responses. So right now we're getting 4. So basically, 1 in 4 positive responses we're booking in a meeting. I actually might add a percentage here just so we can see, like, this is obviously 20%. Sorry, 25%. But so yeah, so this gives you a good indication. Again, if this is like 1 in 10 or something, you obviously have a problem with speed to lead or the responses you're actually sending, right? So it gives you a very clear indication of what you should be working on. Like if this show rate was like 50%, then we can look at, okay, let's fix the show rate. Like we need to send follow-ups, we need to send like case studies proved before and so on and so forth, right? Or we need to book like closer to the day. Like if you got a response from a lead and it's on a Monday and you're pitching them to do a meeting next Friday, like the chance of them showing is unlikely. But if you send them on Monday and you book in for Tuesday, they're going to be really likely to show. So things like that. But obviously here, that's not a problem, but this is all this is doing. It's just identifying the problems. So this again here, this is okay. This is fine. It's about 25%. We ideally want to maybe get speed to lead down a little bit more. That's something else that we're working on. So we can look at like subsequences for something like that, or potentially using video in our responses, or in the responses for, in this particular case. So again, it gives you an idea of what to focus on essentially. And then we've also got email sent to meetings booked rate. So we're basically booking a meeting for every 573 emails that we send. And I mean, this is just a bit arbitrary, but we are sending about 600 emails before we have an actual meeting like showed. And then we've got leads contacted to meetings booked rate, which is about, just under 400. So we're sending 400 email, contacting 400 new leads for every meeting that's booked, right? And then once you start having multiple meetings and you start closing, you can see what the close rate is, and then you can quite literally just work backwards. I have hidden a couple of columns because there are deals closed and stuff on this, but I don't want to reveal the information. But yeah, you get the idea. So the way that we would track this is we would track it over multiple weeks, and then we see the data. So here in this case, sent nearly 14,000 emails over the course of 6 weeks, basically. So yeah, you get a good understanding. You can kind of see where things are dropping. So again, if the first thing is that we have consistent volume, so we're usually aiming for about anywhere between 2 and 4,000, maybe 5,000 emails sent per week. So it's like 750 to 1,000 emails a day, give or take. The second thing that we're looking at is the response rate. So again, we want this not to be below sort of like 1.5%. And then we're also looking at the positive responses. So what's the rate of like how many emails we're sending before we get a positive response? Again, we don't want this over like 350, 400. If it is, then there's something wrong. So right now, this is absolutely fine, which means that really with this campaign, we should just be sending more volume because we've got good stats across the board. Basically, we've got a decent amount of meetings. We've got a very good show rate. We've got email sent to positive response ratio. Sorry, not the one I meant. What am I looking for? Booking rate. Yeah, booking rate here as well. We're getting about 1 in 4. Ideally, maybe we get like 1 in 2, 1 in 3. So we've got to probably be a bit quicker with speed to lead and convert them a little bit better. But other than that, that gives you a good indication basically. So from these campaigns, you can see and you can start to break apart the data basically and see what's actually happening and look at and like know the area that you need to focus on basically and what you need to fix. So I hope this has been useful. If you're interested in getting us to help you with setting up these kinds of campaigns, tracking all this, making sure that you're sending like a very decent amount of volume and have a very consistent source of pipeline essentially on a week-to-week basis, and feel free to book in a call below. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.